This November will be the first time Lonnie White and Rukia Garbo will be old enough to vote in the presidential election. And just the second time Malik Cool and Mosin Shora will cast a presidential ballot. None are planning to vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump.
If I were to vote tomorrow, I wouldn't vote, period.
Ideally, I would like to vote third party.
I will vote for an independent candidate.
I'm considering either voting for Claudia de la Cruz or Cornel West at this point. If there is no substantive policy change when it comes to the genocide in Gaza, then there's not really a discussion for me.
When we met at this barbecue restaurant in Atlanta, all four told me they were raised and originally registered as Democrats. But this year, the president's handling of the Israel-Gaza war has turned them away.
I think what Biden has done in aiding and abetting in a genocide is just something I cannot stand for.
You're willing to withhold your vote in the presidential election unless there is a ceasefire.
Yes.
And it's implemented.
Yes.
Not voting could mean Donald Trump gets into office. Do you think he'll be better on Gaza?
Trump would probably say flatten Gaza and make it into a golf course. I have absolutely no faith in him.
Would you not say that also the people who are not voting for one of the two people who are the likely people to really be in this race have a role to play in kind of giving the race to Donald Trump in a state like Georgia where it's going to be like razor thin?
Yeah, no, I'll do you one better, actually. I think that just means that's why the Democrats should listen.
Exactly.
Radical and more tapped in than their peers is how the group describes themselves. Rukia even helping to organize this demonstration in Atlanta last October, calling for peace and aid for the Palestinian people. While they don't speak for the majority of Black voters, their dissent poses a real concern for Democrats in battleground states like Georgia, where Biden won by fewer than 12,000 votes. Black voters under age 30 made up only about 6% of voters in Georgia in 2020. That group voted for Joe Biden by more than 50 points.
We are holding their election in the palm of our hands, and they're not listening.
We're tired of just hearing him say these things, these empty promises. We have no trust in Joe Biden.
The Republican Party isn't earning their vote either.
Both sides are just equal, all. Nothing is being done for us.
If enough people vote third party, we can win. That's my thoughts.
President Biden's campaign has touted his success on key issues affecting young voters, including student loan forgiveness, lowering unemployment, and tackling inflation. Still, though,
I don't feel it. People may be employed, but can they survive off of it?
The federal minimum wage has stayed the same since 2009. I was 5 in 2009. I'm 20 years old now. Right? I work at Goodwill now for $12 an hour. and cost of living keeps increasing, especially here.
What could President Biden do to change your mind as far as how you'll vote in November?
Call for a permanent ceasefire and actually implement it.
I would like us to stop giving aid to Israel.
If he doesn't get elected, that is his fault. That's not our fault. That's not the Black voters here. That's not X, Y, and Z. No, it's on him.
Welcome to a evening edition of Straight Out of Politics. I'm your host for this evening. I usually say this today, but this evening I'm CJ. And if you didn't know, tried this stream earlier, but I guess some YouTube creators weren't able to stream, and we were one of them. So we went live, and it went live on all the other platforms, but on YouTube it did not. So I only just told people to come back at 6 p.m. Eastern if they wanted to get that show. So that's why I'm here at because I'm the early guy on RBN. I'm usually the earliest. I'm not saying I'm here early in the morning, but I'm usually the earliest to stream. So this is an unusual time for me. But anyhow, this clip, it's kind of cool that the show earlier did not happen because I didn't see this clip until after that had happened. Then just surfing through media, came upon this clip, and I was like, wow, gotta replace the intro I had earlier with this one, because this is a based cable news focus panel, and this you can hear in how they speak, the words that they choose to use. You can hear that they're very well read or very well knowledgeable on topics. This is why the hatred for TikTok. TikTok is educating, peer-to-peers are educating each other. Similar to like Eddie is pretty viral on, a lot of people don't know that on Twitter. Like, he's a viral guy on TikTok. Eddie from the Midwestern Marx Institute. But yeah, so I'm gonna play it again, just point out a couple of things I thought were pivotal, but it just illustrates a few things, that these young people are knowledgeable in the way that they speak about politics. They are knowledgeable on these topics, at least these ones that are here, and how power works. They're not being duped by the "but Trump" thing. They're not falling for that booby trap. So, and this is where the hatred, you have a younger population that is being, actually, let me say it this way. You have the government that's being unmasked by a younger population, and that unmasking is largely socialized in public through TikTok. I can't remember the survey, so don't quote me on it. Just that young people are I can't remember who they were, but the young people, the group that we're talking about, gets their news, the number one place they get their news. Not all of them, but like if they listed the places, this is the one that got the top spot, was TikTok. And what I'm loving about this also, and that's what you see scrolling across the screen, we have a show called the Post-Duopoly Show. And what we're hearing in these young people are post-duopoly people, because they understand what's going on. This is beautiful to me. So I'm going to play this again, and as there's probably like 3 or 4 points I want to stop just to make a point of how, anyway, I'll make the point when it comes up.
This November will be the first time Lonnie White and Rokia Garbo will be old enough to vote in the presidential election. And just the second time Malik Poole and Mosin Shora will cast a presidential ballot. None are planning to vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump.
If I were to vote tomorrow, I wouldn't vote, period.
Ideally, I would like to vote third party.
I will vote for an independent candidate.
I'm considering either voting for Claudia de la Cruz or Cornel West at this point. If there is no substantive policy change when it comes to the genocide in Gaza, then there's not really a discussion for me.
That part is like the entry for a discussion for me to vote for you, for a discussion for me to vote for you. The entry, the admission is a policy change, substantial. Let me say it that way, that because the other word is very hard for me to say. A substantial policy change, not no fringe bullshit, no around the edges, none of that. And the way he pronounces Gaza, which sounds, he is attempting to give respect by giving the name in the word. It's indigenous, the way you speak it indigenously. So I love that about it. And to me, that tells me he is well read enough or well knowledgeable enough where he have seen or heard the word pronounced by the people from Palestine in a particular way, and that's what he's mimicking. So that's what tells me that they're not just regular people. So this is very surprising that CNN, now they get people like this all the time. They just don't air them. It's surprising. Now, if they've gotten here, do you understand the shift that has happened? If CNN is at a place, and there's another CNN segment where they have an investigation about the flower massacre, and they say Israel's lying. So if CNN and other cable outlets are at a place where they are now allowing things that you and I, as radicals and non-establishment people, would be saying phrases, that's mind-blowing, but it shows the power of the persistent pro-Palestinian protests around the world. It's literally daily. It's literally calls out daily. It's literally people like Nancy Pelosi, even Joe Biden and Barack Obama getting called out, getting protested on. It is a shift. But what I don't want people to miss and understand, this is history. This is showing you the power of a movement. You're seeing it real time, and we need to recognize that that's what we're seeing in real time. We're seeing a movement out in the street, a pressure movement, a disrupt movement, a direct action movement. And remember what it was like October 8th? Remember what Nick and I said? Cable news was unwatchable. It was unwatchable. October 7th, 8th, 9th, unwatchable. I couldn't even watch it. That's how far they were on the genocider side. Pro-Israel, let's do this, let's do that. And you better not be saying anything else. And that was all it was, wall to wall, to where we are today. That's the power of a movement. I wish people would understand, or not understand, because I think they understand. I wish people would invest small amounts of their time or whatever they can give to something local to push. Get involved in something. If you're not a person that's non-confrontational, so you're not really a protest person, that means you can be a person that drops off diapers to a women's shelter. That means you're a person that could drop off toiletries to a unhoused person. Everybody has a role. Remember that. All right, so I'm ranting. Let's get back to this video. Let's go to the next point. So we stopped at point 1. I think there's 2 or 3 more.
When we met at this barbecue restaurant in Atlanta, all 4 told me they were raised and originally registered as Democrats. But
based. So this is what Dem exit looks like. And I must say, it does my heart well that they all appear to be Black or indigenous or something. It gives me hope. You know, when I listen to, now I'm gonna go off on a tangent. Like when I listen to some of this music, it puts me down. I'm like, oh God, what are these people saying? In this, I thought my neck and my back was bad, and now what they're saying in some of this music, I was like, I was losing faith. But when I see this shit here, I'm like, this is it. This is what RBN wants to be in community with. These types of people. People who say, look, bro, I get all your Trump is bad shit. We're talking about a genocide. These are the people who would have stood up in the 1700s for Black people. These are the people that would have stood up in Ireland for the Irish people. These are the people that would stand up. Whatever you're doing now is what you would do, and see what they're doing. Anyway, let's get back to the video. I'm in a ranty mood right now.
But this year, the president's handling of the Israel-Gaza war has turned them away.
I think what Biden has done in aiding and abetting a genocide is just something I cannot stand for.
You're willing to withhold your vote in the presidential election unless there is a ceasefire.
Yes.
And it's implemented.
Yes.
Not voting could mean Donald Trump gets into office.
Did you hear what they said there? And if you didn't catch it, and it's implemented. None of that ceasefire is coming in 6 weeks. None of that bullshit. You know what I mean? Like ceasefire, but it's going to happen after the election. But I promise you, Like what they're doing right now with student loan debt. They're about to do another one, and that shit is going to be taken to the bank at the courts. And they're also fooling young people with abortion. What can the Democrats do if you vote them in? What? What can they do about abortion rights? They don't have 60 senators. What can they do? That's why if you listen to Bernie Sanders, and I'm going to play a video later and you're going to see this, he says quite clearly things like, if you believe in climate change, vote for Joe Biden. Not if you want something done in climate change because Joe Biden's going to do something, vote for Joe Biden. He don't say that. If you just simply believe in the concept. Because then he says Trump doesn't even believe in the concept. Now, let me ask you this question. I'm in a ranty mood. I already told you. Let me ask you this question. What's the difference between a person who believes in something but doesn't have a strategy to get it and a person who doesn't believe in something? What's the tangible difference? Nothing, right? Let's finish out this video so we can move along here.
Office. Do you think he'll be better on Gaza?
Trump would probably say flatten Gaza and make it into a golf course. I have absolutely no faith in him.
Would you not?
You hear that? She's trying to scare. Wait, you think Trump is going to be better? No. Trump is not the current one in power doing the genocide. Trump is going to do the same thing. I'm not voting for him either. We don't vote for genociders. Is that hard to believe? We need that on the shirt. I don't vote for genociders. We need that on the shirt. Somebody take note. Zoya or Aaron, if you're watching. Not to do it, but just to simply take note, please.
Not say that also the people who are not voting for one of the two people who are the likely people.
Now listen to this circular bullshit she tried to say right here. That they don't fall for. You see what I mean? Like, this shit is so base because they're not falling for none of this. None of these traps that every other social democrat buffoon they bring on always start stumbling over their words. Yeah, well, Marianne Williamson. Watch, she endorsed Joe Biden. If at all. Let's continue.
To really be in this race, have a role to play in kind of giving.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was meant to rewind it so you can hear this nonsense, the circular bullshit she tries to trick them on right here. Listen to this.
Would you not say that also the people who are not voting for one of the two people who are the likely people to really be in this race have a role to play in kind of giving the race to Donald Trump?
This idea that everybody's on your team, that the top goal is to make sure Donald Trump doesn't get in office, it's not everybody's top goal. It's not everybody's top goal. That's your goal. Don't put your goals and achievements on me. It's our goal not to support either party because they're both genociders. That's it. So whether staying home, whether you're voting third party, you heard mention I love. And is there another reason why you know they're these are smarter people. These young people are very smart because typically, what is the third party name you hear? Jill Stein, Cornell West. Who did you hear? Claudia de la Cruz. Let's continue. These four right here are not to be messed with, and you can hear it in their answers, their responses.
In a state like Georgia where it's going to be like razor thin?
Yeah, no, I'll do you one better, actually. I think that just means that's why the Democrats should listen.
That's how democracy is supposed to work. He's saying the people who's supposed to change in a representative democracy is the representative. The representative doesn't tell the masses what to do. Continue.
Exactly.
Radical and more tapped in than their peers is how the group describes themselves. Rokia even helping to organize this demonstration in Atlanta last October, calling for peace and aid for the Palestinian people. While they don't speak for the majority of Black voters, their dissent poses a real concern for Democrats in battleground states like Georgia, where Biden won by fewer than 12,000 votes. Black voters under age 30 made up only about 6%.
I don't know why they really think they're going to win Georgia. That was a fluke. That you're not going to win Georgia.
Percent of voters in Georgia in 2020. That group voted for Joe Biden by more than 50 points.
We are holding their election in the palm of our hands, and they're not listening.
We're tired of just hearing him say these things, these empty promises. We have no trust in Joe Biden.
The Republican.
Woo! We have no trust in Joe Biden. Man, if it wasn't seasonal, I would put that on a shirt, but that's going to be out of style, so don't want to put that on a shirt. This clip is all viral in our community. This is a viral clip in our community. I guarantee you everybody covers it. I guarantee you everybody covers this clip. It was from beginning to end based. But again, the very fact that the editing room is allowing this to get in to be aired means there's enough and a bigger audience than the people who would be against it. If you look at the polls, more than it's creeping up to 60% of the American population. I think the last poll I saw was 56 or 57%. That's the last one I saw. There might be another one that has a higher number that I haven't seen yet. Last one I saw, which maybe 3 or 4 days ago, it was somewhere around there.
Party isn't earning their vote either.
Both sides are just equal, all. Nothing is being done for us.
If enough people vote third party, we can win. That's my thoughts.
President Biden's campaign has touted his success on key issues affecting young voters, including student loan forgiveness, lowering unemployment, and tackling inflation. Still, though,
I don't feel it. People may be employed.
I think this last student loan forgiveness plan that could fall apart after the election, just like the last one, is something like on Fox News, I said somewhere around estimates 100 and some odd billion. 100 and I don't want to give a wrong number since I don't remember. But it's a high, like mid to high hundreds of billion, 100 billion. So it's like 150, 175 billion, something like that will be canceled. Possibly is how they phrased it. There's 1.77 trillion of student loan debt. So you understand, think about how much of that is being canceled. Let's take the high number, 175 billion. There's 1.77 trillion of student loan debt. So, crumbs.
But can they survive off of it?
The federal minimum wage.
Oh, and this is like a little montage of them saying some other stuff. So they're going to show what Joe Biden's is touting, and then they're going to give what their responses are. And it's like, these people are tuned in because they're not giving they're giving very direct information, well thought out answers.
Issues affecting young voters, including student loan forgiveness, lowering unemployment, and tackling inflation. Still, though,
I don't feel it. People may be employed, but can they survive off of it?
Woo! 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 That's the point that I always make with my analogy. With my analogy of when they say, oh, black unemployment is very low. You know when black unemployment was the best? Slavery. Isn't that great? That's when black unemployment was the best. So how the fuck does that tell us employment rate, how the economics of people are doing? It does not. Because like this young lady has pointed out, if I have a job, I'm employed, so the rate is down, but can I pay my bills? Somebody said maybe they watch RBN. Maybe. Who said that? Oh, you got a pretty poppin' name too. Bling Girl. Maybe they watch RBN. That would have been dope if they shouted out our. Oh yeah, what's up? Nick from RBN told us. That would have been dope. But yeah, let's continue. It's about 33 seconds left.
The federal minimum wage has stayed the same since 2009. I was 5 in 2009. I'm 20 years old now, right? I work at Goodwill now for $12 an hour. and cost of living keeps increasing, especially here.
What could President Biden do to change your mind as far as how you'll vote in November?
Call for permanent ceasefire and actually implement it.
The implemented part. They're not falling for you just saying words, and then after election, you have to plan it for, oh, yeah, I'm calling for it right now. Like, this is what they're probably going to try to do. October surprise, ceasefire. But it's going to start November, when is the election? November 5th? November 7th. That type shit. So they're saying implement it.
I would like us to stop giving aid to Israel.
That's her hurdle. You have to stop giving aid to Israel to get my vote. You get what I'm saying? These aren't no flimsy things. These are things that are policy changes.
If he doesn't get elected, that is his fault. That's not our fault. That's not the black voters here. That's not X, Y, and Z. No, it's on him.
That last part, that's the coup d'etat. It's on him. It ain't on us. So ain't no shaming over here, peoples. Base young folks. This make you feel proud of young folks. And I have this video here because I played it either yesterday or the day before, whenever I went live. And in the video, this young lady here speaks about the Israel-Palestine the massacre of or the genocide of Palestine by Israel is not just a 2014 we disagree. This is you're going to be losing people for a generation if you're doing this. And you heard it in that based focus group. They're losing people for a generation. And she made the point here. Let's listen again.
So let me just be blunt. The headline here is that Biden is so racist against Arabs, he would rather fund a genocide than win re-election. Is that on the people to fix? Furthermore, if he is so racist against Arabs that he's willing to commit a genocide and nothing being said or done moves him in any direction, what makes you all think he's going to save you from jack shit?
That's a very important point. If people are pleading and begging him to stop the killing of babies and mothers, and they're just, whatever. We are literally we've already reached unofficially over 100,000 people dead. The official numbers, I think Nick said 40,000 was the last one I think we looked up. I can't remember the official. I believe it was 40,000. And there's no change. We just had Lloyd Austin in a hearing say, there's no evidence there's a genocide. But it's curious how it's asked. He said, and it's Tom Cotton asking him, so Lloyd, Austin, what do you think about, is Israel committing a genocide? He doesn't say yes or no. He's very smart. Because later on, it's going to be called a genocide. He knows that. He says, we haven't seen any evidence of that. Then he asks him again, so that means they didn't do it, right? Then he says, we haven't seen any evidence of that. That's how you know you're a genocider, but you can't be proud about it, and you can't come out and I'm proud to be a genocider, because people would not respond well. So you have to act like you don't see dead babies and dead mothers. I don't see them.
Because I genuinely don't get it. I genuinely don't get the cognitive dissonance you all.
I'm sorry. The point I was going to make was that she was saying if they won't be moved by protest. You talking about worldwide protests? Over 500,000 people have protested worldwide. Disruption after disruption. Poll numbers. Why do you think they're going to give you abortion? Why are you falling for the trap of this vote for me because abortion? What are you going to get me? What are you going to tangibly get if we vote for you? Well, if you get me 60 cents, how are we going to do that, sir? You don't have 60 good senators. You see what I mean? Like, don't fall for it. But anyway, let's let her finish out this part.
Will have to still believe in any of this. Frankly, the greatest threat to Democrats, which I've been saying for almost a year now, is not that people are going to vote for Trump. It's that people are not going to vote at all because they do not fucking believe in any of it anymore. Studies have shown time and time again that public will means nothing legislatively. That the greatest indication a law is going to pass is the money that is behind it. What you say or do, is it moving the needle? And if it's not moving the needle, if electoral politics isn't doing shit, why would people continue to invest in that system? People are literally begging the carnage to stop, and this administration is literally ignoring them. I said a long time ago that if you wanted to save the party, because now it's a matter of not just saving Biden, because it's done. Now it's a matter of whether or not the Democrats exist beyond this election. If you want to save that, you connect with people. You stand by the people of the party rather than its figureheads. But thus far, none of you demonstrated any of that. And I've said this for months, which means that what Biden's doing is not just going to tank his reelection chances, it's going to sink the entire party.
Is that what we're seeing here? You saw an illustration, an expression, a manifestation of that in that panel, in this base focus group panel. Oh, we were Democrats, but we exited that shit a long time ago. Because you remember in the segment, they said they all were registered Democrats at a point. Not no more. And the point in this video is being made through that manifestation of the focus group that they're losing people for a generation.
And people's unwillingness to critique him or to criticize him or to just repeat never Trump all the fucking time is not only not winning people over.
And that's another thing she points out here. That Trump bullshit, that's not gonna work no more. The scary Trump guy, that's no. Give me something else.
It is showing the rot that is fundamental to Democrats.
I interrupted her point. Let me make sure she gets it out about the Trump part.
Of that. And I've said this for months, which means that what Biden's doing is not just going to tank his reelection chances, it's going to sink the entire party. And people's unwillingness to critique him or to criticize him or to just repeat never Trump all the fucking time is not only not winning people over, it is showing the rot that is fundamental to Democrats. And frankly, and fundamentally, Trump is the best thing that has ever happened to the Democratic Party because it means that they don't have to try anymore and you'll still stand there looking like a rube. None of you are actually voting for the lesser of two evils. You just became the evil.
Ooh, you feel that one, and what does Country Wayne say?
So let me just be blunt. The headline here is
there's no lesser of two evil when you're choosing between a genocider. This is why we say we've reached the climax of lesser of two evil. There is no worse than this. Do you understand? There is no worse. You are deciding between two genociders. Based post-duopoly is the future. Post-duopoly is the future. Break the chains of these party registrations and break the chains and be free. Let's go to AOC is on Colbert. And there's a couple of things I want to cover with this one as we pivot to this next segment, and it's about AOC. I'm going to show you a couple of clips. This first one is a kind of Russiagate-y. You get kind of Russiagate-y on. But the one I want to focus on after this, which is the longer one, this is a very short clip, and then there's a longer one, is when she goes on and lies about the Uncommitted campaign. So we're going to cover AOC. So AOC goes on Stephen Colbert show to lie about the Uncommitted campaign, and she also Russiagates. So let's do the Russiagating first. Let's watch. Now, there's several serious people she could name. You notice she picked out these pop culture people just like her? You notice she did that? Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert? When there's plenty serious people on the Republican side that she could use. She's made it, guys. Why don't we play that Mary Tyler Moore show music? Oh, gonna make it after all. She's made it. She's on a late night talk show. And her sitcom would be her as a waitress aspiring to be in the house. And she watches CNN all the time at her diner that she works. There you go. Let's write that story. There's a sitcom right there. Yeah. So let's that's funny. Just her outfit gave me that idea of the Mary Tyler Moore show when she's in the street twirling and stuff. I watch a lot of old shows. Oh, I have watched. I don't watch them as much often, but like the Perry Mason, he wanted to make sure that clap got in. They weren't gonna clap, and he was like, "I'm gonna pause. Clap, please, guys." The light in the audience probably came on.
Republican Congressman Mike Turner and Michael
shows live years ago when I was used to do that type of thing. Now we're gonna go to YouTube, the other video. But let me say this is another classic show that I used to watch. Alice and Mel's Diner. I used to watch Mel's Diner. My mom was a very churchy kind of person, so I was and we lived in the hood. So I was very sheltered in the sense, I couldn't go out late nights and stuff like that. I couldn't be out late nights and stuff like that because it wasn't safe. So anyway, because I was inside a lot of times, I would watch a lot of TV, and it was a lot of old TV. At the time when I was young, it was a lot of older TV on. And as I got older, I still liked it. Okay, so here goes the video. I found it. All right, so here is more of her on the Stephen Colbert show. And this is where she's talking about Uncommitted. And let me throw this up here. Thank you, my taco. They don't pose a threat because Biden is losing. Facts. Name my taco. Member for 8 months. And let's play it. She talks about the Uncommitted campaign. What does this even mean? Does that feels such of what? I don't understand the purpose of this question. What I'm saying is, it feels like there was a discussion beforehand, before this question was made. A sort of I'm going to do this because we need. Basically, she's brought on here to speak to the Uncommitted campaign and say, you make sure you vote in November. That's what he's asking her to do. That feels like I needed to set something up before. Like, why would you ask that question? These people feel like this. What would you say to those people about the election? Like, he's trying to ask the question without appearing to say, can you tell these people, these morons who are voting uncommitted, what to do? That's why he gives her a title. Remember, in this propaganda world that we call media, they use titles to make the viewer feel like you should be listening to this person. prominent progressive? You mean the one who sold out a rail strike? Is that who you talking about? The one who says she would vote for an Iron Dome now? I don't know how that makes her a prominent progressive, maybe a NATO progressive. You see the co-opting? You see why they join these groups? So they can pull them to the right. Now, that Uncommitted campaign could have went out without these clowns to join, the ones that are, yeah, I want to be a part of it, but I'm still voting for Joe Biden. That group, this is how they co-opted. They come in, oh yeah, I'm just like you guys. Oh yeah, I want to express my anger in the primary, and then they start saying other people in this group that she can refer to are just other people like her. That's not the rank and file, but it gives her the ability, since she went through the process and was like, yeah, I endorse it and I'm part of it. Now she can come on the show and say, we also believe this, because there are other traitors who are also infiltrators in the movement. So she's just referring to the other traitors that's a part of this. Let's continue. Oh, isn't that just great? Is anybody surprised for that? Oh, I'm real surprised. I'm real surprised. But let's see if I have another video on this. I think that might be the last one. Well, it was barely an hour. I got some more good stuff. Like, this is a pretty based thing here. I think I want to go to Khanna because I already have it up. That's, to be quite honest, that's the reason why I was looking to Bernie, but I have to look for Bernie. I have to search for Bernie, and I already have Khanna up. And Khanna, turns out Khanna trying to pressure the RFK campaign. So Khanna's part of the sergeant at arms, I guess. The so quote unquote progressives are trying to get somebody to drop out of a democracy. So let's get to that. Where do I have it? Khanna tries to pressure RFK Jr.'s VP pick to drop out. Let's get right to this story. I know I'm going through right to the next subject, but trying to get through this quickly.
Just in tonight, a surreal story from the world of politics. The running mate for RFK Jr. is publicly revealing that she received a letter from Democratic Congressman Khanna. Nicole Shanahan says that Khanna is asking her to step down from the ticket because his candidacy hurts President Biden's chances. Shanahan says, in part, Roe encouraged me to run, that it's wrong for anyone to threaten me against running. She goes on to say, clearly Roe has changed his stance based on pressure from his party, that it's anti-democratic. I'm very disappointed that he has been pressured into issuing this letter to me publicly. He could have called me privately. Now, the congressman is here with us tonight, and he joins me to respond in a moment. But first, remember, a campaign official for RFK said that her number...
Yeah. He could have, because he knows her, he could have just called her. But he won't get credit. And teachers' pets always wants credit. And that's who Khanna is. He's a teacher's pet of the Democratic establishment. He always wants to come out and be Captain Save a Biden or Captain Save a Pelosi or Captain Saving fill-in establishment Democrat. That's the role he plays, and he's doing it right here too. Because you could have called, hey, why don't you drop out? Come on, man. Let me send you a letter so I can come on CNN and get some kudos by my Democratic establishment. They say I did a good thing.
One priority is to prevent Biden from winning. And tonight, CNN's K-File reports that Rita Palmer attended a Stop the Steal rally, including the rally that preceded the Capitol insurrection. She also has posted praise for Trump, including the hope that he wins in 2024 and that he's her favorite president, she says. Congressman Ro Khanna joins me now.
This is so, as they would say in the South, messy. This is so messy what she's trying to create here. Because actually, let me let him. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let me let him. Actually, I can say this part. It was ahead of myself because they actually haven't played the video of the lady. One, this is just a random lady who was at a local support thing for RFK. Local lady, nothing part of the campaign structure, nothing like that. Just a local supporter at an event, and she's saying some things because she is a Trump supporter who supports RFK. And your point is what? And they're trying to make that seem like, see, that's what RFK's goal is. One, that's not the truth. And two, even if it's just the truth, and what is your point? The goal of everybody doesn't want Donald Trump elected is not everybody's goal. Abby Phillips.
Congressman, we have this letter. We just received it that you sent to Nicole Shanahan. What did you say to her?
Well, look, I've known Nicole Shanahan for years. She's been a supporter. I would say she's an acquaintance. And we've shared common issues around the climate, common issues around reproductive rights. And when she called me to say that she was going to join Robert Kennedy's ticket, I said, well, Nicole, why don't you join the Democratic coalition, support President Biden? He will better advance climate. I understand you have disagreements with the president. I do too on certain issues like Gaza, but join the coalition. And then I texted her that, always respectfully, but I was hoping to make the case that her issues would be better served joining the coalition. So
she says that you changed your position, that you actually told her that anyone should run and shouldn't be threatened for doing so. She posted this exchange on X, and then you responded to her with a text that you sent her afterwards. What's your response to her claiming that you're not telling the truth?
It's right there. What are you talking about? It's right there.
Well, I don't think she's saying that. I did say that anyone has the right.
It's right there. You showed the proof, Abby. What do you mean? Were you asking the question when he's just been... the proof is in front. You brought the proof up. You brought the exhibit up.
And that no one should threaten her or no one should engage in character assassination of her. And I stand by that. And even in the text I sent her, I said, look, she has absolutely the right to run. And I will never disparage her personally. But I will make the case, I'm making the case tonight, that given the stakes, given her own view in regenerative agriculture, on climate, on reproductive rights, how could she aid candidacy that's simply going to help reelect Donald Trump? And I want to make the case for her that she'd be better served supporting Joe Biden.
So by all of this, are you saying that you are worried that an RFK candidacy will end up costing President Biden the election?
I think the president can win regardless, but will it make it harder for the president? Absolutely. I mean, I don't think that is revealing any unique math. I mean, the reality is that any third-party candidates help Donald Trump because he cannot get to 50%. And so if we lower the ceiling of what he needs to get, it makes it harder for the president to win. Do I think the president can overcome that? We can overcome that and win? Yes. But why diminish the odds and help tilt any advantage to Donald Trump?
Do you think that Nicole Shanahan is aware of what you are saying there, that this could end up resulting in a Trump presidency yet again?
Like, she's aware. They keep thinking that everybody's on this team to make sure Trump doesn't get elected. Everybody's not on this parade. That's what they think. Like it's an obvious thing. That's you guys. That's your guys' plan.
Again?
I don't know. I'd love to have that conversation with her publicly, maybe on your show. I mean, the reality is she's been extraordinary in funding regenerative agriculture in places like Iowa State. She has worked
She's a
on
donor.
big climate issues.
So this is a donor friend of his, because remember, she was a Democratic donor. So, and he says an acquaintance. That means that's his friend. So he's like, why didn't you just call me, bro?
I was perplexed, baffled why she would choose to enter at this time, given the stakes that it's a binary choice. Ordinarily, I understand you want to get your views out, you want to push for reform.
When is ordinarily, if every election is the most important election of our time? When is normal time? That's what we keep asking. When is not the most important election where we can just pick who we want? When does that come? Seems to be never.
I hope she understands that what she is doing really could put Trump back in the White House and undermine the goals that she believes in.
I mentioned in tonight's reporting that the New York-based RFK Jr. campaign official, she previously promoted these false claims that the 2020 election was rigged, and she actually attended the January 6th rally. What's your reaction to that?
Reaction to somebody who supported Trump, who now supports RFK, the reaction should be, that's democracy. That should be the answer.
Well, it's appalling. Look, I used to admire Robert Kennedy's environmental activism, and I just don't understand what he's doing. I mean, denying that January 6th, that the people who beat police officers vandalized the building and were attacking colleagues of mine while I was in the complex, that is somehow just a form of protest, which is what he has said, and people shouldn't be prosecuted. And then being more to the right, but way more to the right than either Donald Trump or Joe Biden on unconditional support for Netanyahu. I mean, I just don't understand what he's trying to achieve.
Very interesting indeed, Congressman Ro Khanna.
Yeah, that was a setup. The letter was a setup. Hey, I'm going to send this letter to her. Can you bring me on the show so I can talk about it? They're doing everything. They're throwing everything. They're throwing the kitchen sink because nothing's working. So they're just saying, throw shit up, man. Throw everything. We don't care what it is. Throw everything. Let's move on. Wait, do I have any other item here for Ro Khanna? I don't think I do. No other receipts for Ro Khanna, but I think I got one more super chat because I'm gonna read that one. But I do want to go to the topic of Bernie Sanders. So I'm opening up that now, and I'll pull it up, and then I'll read whatever the super chats that are there. I think it's one. And then I'll show you what I want to show you for this first part. And let me bring it up in the background here. So bye Ro Khanna, and let's come up with let's bring up the other sellout, and that is Bernie Sanders, and he looks such like a mascot. Joe Biden is the owner, and Bernie Sanders is the puppy dog, waiting to be given a command. Isn't that what it looks like there? That's Bernie Sanders, the mascot. Let's continue here. Actually, bring up super chat. Actually, oh no, this is the one I didn't read. This one from Sean Miller, member for 9 months. I want my RBN cooking the libs. I want my MTV. I think that's supposed to be a play off of that. I want my RBN. All right, so let's, that was a short break. Let's get to this one here. So guess who posted this? This is Joe Biden. Joe Biden woke up today and said, hey, I want to post a picture of me and my little puppy dog, my mascot. So I said, hey, Bernie, come here, Bernie. That's a good pet name, Bernie. Right? It's just a couple of syllables. It's very easy to understand if you're a pet, I guess. Bernie. And that's what he did. He said, hey, I want to do a video with my dog. And here's Joe Biden saying, here's what Donald Trump says when he thinks you're not watching. He says he's going to cut taxes for his rich friends, all while cutting Social Security for everyone. That's rich coming from somebody who has done both, or who has said they wanted to do both. You are on video talking about cutting Social Security being on the table to cut. You're on video. We've seen that many times. And then as far as rich friends, I remember Obama agreeing to some tax thing that Republicans wanted at the time. Democrats and Republicans. Democrats pretend like they don't want the same tax breaks for their friends that the Republicans do. They just make it seem like they always lose that battle. But here is Bernie Sanders being the mascot that he is. He looks so pitiful right here. And let's watch. This is sad. This is sad when you thought who he was, when I thought who he was, which I come to understand he was never that. We projected radicalism on him, but he was never that.
Because you're all people that have a lot of money. I know 20 of you, and you're rich as hell. We're going to give you tax cuts. We're going to pay off our debt.
No, that's everything you need to know about Donald Trump. When he thinks the cameras aren't on, he tells his rich friends, quote, we're going to give you tax cuts.
Can anybody in America imagine that at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, billionaires are doing phenomenally well, that he's going to give them huge tax breaks? And then at the same time, he's going to cut Social Security and Medicare and programs that our kids need.
This is his.
And you know what Joe Biden's going to do? Take a bunch of money from those same billionaires. Bernie Sanders knows goddamn well that Joe Biden is despicable in this same instance. Bernie Sanders, during his campaign, played the Social Security video or audio on that commercial. I remember, and it was devastating for Joe Biden. And I remember Breonna Joy Gray saying he wanted to pull up after that blow to Joe Biden. And they didn't go harder at him about the Social Security comment. But he's being a good lapdog. Please don't give me the Nader treatment, please, Joey. Just looks like a fucking cuck.
His economic plan, that's what he wants to do? Cutting taxes for his friends, cutting Social Security for you? That makes me mad as hell, quite frankly.
The hypocrisy is just outrageous. This is what he says to his billionaire friends, not quite what he's saying at his rallies.
This is the White House attempt, because I saw somebody say, what the hell is this? Is this a reaction video? This is the White House's strategy to campaign, do retail campaign, but have a lot of surrogates help Joe Biden through it, because they know this guy can't do a regular retail campaign on his own. So that's what you're seeing. He's taking a lot of the talking weight, if you will, the talking part away from Joe, having him have to do less mental work because of his condition.
There are 1,000 billionaires in America, in this country. They pay an average tax rate of 8.2%.
Yeah, and how many of them are giving you money, Joe Biden? It's so funny. It's so funny.
Federal taxes. So I have a plan. We have a plan. Asking his good buddies to begin to pay their fair share.
You have one candidate who wants to cut Medicare and Social Security, and one who's going to protect it. That's why I'm supporting Joe, and I hope you will as well.
And he's like, he pats him on the back. He pats him on the back like he's patting his butt. Thank. Good Bernie. Good Bernie. I'll give you some Scooby snacks later. Get your ass out of here. This guy is fucking terrible. This guy is fucking terrible. I got more. So Bernie Sanders, and what is the title? Joe Biden and the Democrat Party treat Bernie Sanders like a mascot, and that's what you see here. And he happily plays the role. He is he's running deathly afraid of being turned into the next Ralph Nader, whatever that means. Now let's go to this other video. And I think it's where is it? Yeah, this one right here. He puts it out himself. He goes on Pod Save America. I played a different clip yesterday. This is another clip I found. Let's listen to the mascot.
Look, we are living in crazy times.
Now, when he's advocating, when he's giving you the difference between, listen carefully to his wording. Listen carefully to Bernie Sanders. I said it earlier how he carefully chooses his words here.
Look, we are living in crazy times, and the challenges that our country and the world face are probably the most dangerous for a very, very long time. This is tough stuff. And I think the first point to be made in answer to your question is people have got to understand what a horrific danger Donald Trump will be if he is reelected. If you believe that climate change is real and a real threat to the future of this planet and our kids and grandchildren, Donald Trump thinks climate change is a hoax. If you think there's something wrong when 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society, and we have an unprecedented level of income and wealth inequality, Donald Trump very clearly wants to give more tax breaks to billionaires.
So let's stop it there. Now, like I said, you listen closely to what he says here. Now, you might go, well, that's an easy choice. If you're Emma Vigeland, you would go and respond, well, this is climate change alone, you should be voting for Joe Biden. Remember she said that? That didn't age well, considering some of the projects, the Willow Project, the other mountain project from, what's his name, from the rotating villain, the Kristen Cinema, and then what's the guy's name? Somebody's gonna say here in the chat. Maybe I don't remember. Anyway, let's finish out this video here.
People have got to understand what a horrific danger Donald Trump will be if he is.
So anyway, I remember the point now, because Bernie Sanders doesn't say Joe Biden is going to do something about climate change. He said, if you want something done with climate change, vote for Joe Biden. He doesn't say that. He carefully says, if you just believe in the existence of a climate crisis, vote for Joe Biden. That tells you nothing about anything being done. In fact, something can be done against it. If we vote for Joe Biden, he can approve other lands, open up oils, all type of shit he's going to do. So voting for Joe Biden is actually going to work against climate change. And no one's saying to vote for Donald Trump to alleviate climate change. We said don't vote for either one.
Is reelected. If you believe that climate change is real and a real threat to the future of this planet and our kids and grandchildren, Donald Trump thinks climate change is a hoax. If you think there's something wrong when 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society, and we have an unprecedented level of income and wealth inequality.
Why would I vote for Joe Biden because of that? Joe Biden has not done anything to indicate he is against the wealth inequality whatsoever. Joe Biden leaned on the Senate parliamentarian not to raise minimum wage, sir. So what are you talking about?
Donald Trump very clearly wants to give more tax breaks to billionaires. If you think that our health...
And Joe Biden wants to send more weapons to genociders. Seems like a wash to me.
Healthcare system today is broken. Donald Trump...
So you hear, this is a threat. You think it's terrible now. If you don't vote for the guy who's not going to do anything, this guy over here is not going to do us anything. Genocide light. the guy who has the same dead bodies but just talks, has different rhetoric. This is where we're at. We're picking between genociders. How is one of them less if both of them are down for genocide?
Wants to end the Affordable Care Act and throw millions of people off the health care that they have. If you think that women should have the fundamental right to control their own bodies, something we have taken for granted for decades, Donald Trump will be supporting a national abortion.
He's already said he's not going to do that. You don't have to lie. Just tell the truth. He's bad enough where you can just tell enough truths about Donald Trump. He put the people on the Supreme Court that struck down the ruling. And the Democrats sat back eating popcorn as the Republicans had that 30-year plan slowly rolled out.
Ban and make it harder for women to get abortions.
Oh, so the people who had the chance to pass it with Obama but didn't, those people are going to save you guys this time. And they have less people in the Senate than they had that time.
So, and by the way, no tiny matter, if you happen to believe in democracy and the right of people to control their own lives, Donald Trump has made it very clear that he will take us to an authoritarian type of society. Those are the guys around the world, strong men around.
Do you mean like Twitter files kind of authoritarian? Or do you mean like trying to ban TikTok authoritarian? Which one are you talking about?
On the world who do not believe in democracy are his heroes. So it is absolutely imperative that we defeat Trump, clearly the most dangerous candidate in maybe American history. All right. Now, do I have disagreements with Biden?
Here goes the selling out your policies. To unite and put aside your policies. Yes, I have disagreements. He wants genocide. I don't. But Bernie would be saying the same thing with slavery. Yes, I want to end slavery, but what do you mean but? Joe Biden's for it, if this is the example. That's who Bernie Sanders. Social Democrats, what they call themselves, progressive Democrats, are spineless, untrustworthy, sometime allies at best.
Do I have strong disagreements with Biden? The answer is yes, I do.
I have strong. Do you stand on those strong disagreements or do you fold? How is a strong disagreement if you fold on that disagreement? How is it strong? What makes it strong, Bernie? Unless you stand on it.
And I'm going to do everything I can to move Biden in a more progressive agenda.
Like you did this last 4 years with the Willow Project, breaking the rail strike.
No. But I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not going to allow.
Is this one of the babies from Gaza, Bernie?
How Donald Trump did become elected president. So what do we have to do? We have to go forward in a several-pronged approach. Number one, we defeat Donald Trump. Number two, at the grassroots level, we mobilize people.
You hear it now? You elect them, and then all you guys do the work of everything else. You see, you hear what he's saying? Why don't you mobilize people, Bernie? Why don't you mobilize the millions of people that were going to support you in your campaign, Bernie? Why don't you and AOC, two of the largest progressive figures in the duopoly framing, why don't you two, you guys can organize rally in all 50 states and do a tour, sir?
Not only to vote for Biden, but to support the many, many good progressive candidates who are today under assault from AIPAC.
Fuck the motherfucking squad.
And other super PACs out there. one of the very nice things that I think does not get the attention that it deserves is over the last 6-8 years, we have seen a real growth of young, often people of color, progressives in the House of Representatives. Far more, I suspected, in the history of this country.
So he has to throw a shout out to the onslaught of AIPAC money and the target of being the squad and how they're gone. Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman is good as gone. They're as good as gone. This is their last stand. This is it for them. They won't be back for the next Congress.
Far more than when I was in the House in the 1990s. We got to protect those people from the assault that they're going to be getting hit with by super PACs. And thirdly, at the grassroots level, we got to continue the pressure for a progressive agenda, an agenda, by the way, which the American...
You mean pressure like when they protested you and you called the cops on them? Like that kind of pressure, Bernie? Which one are we talking about?
American people support. Healthcare as a human right. Broadening the trade union movement, making it easier for workers to form unions. And we're making some real progress in that.
Do you mean unions like UWA, who sells out the workers and the rank and file by endorsing a strikebreaker? That union?
A direction. Moving aggressively, not only in this country, around the world, to combat the fossil fuel industry and save the planet from climate change, et cetera, et cetera. So these are extraordinarily difficult times. And on top of all of that, we've gone through COVID, gone through mental health crisis, going through that right now. But at the very least, Donald Trump must be defeated. All of us got to work on that effort.
This is like the third segment in a row. They all think we're all on the same team for that. Like that's everybody's top goal, and it's not. Here goes some responses to Bernie Sanders. I wasn't the only one feeling the sellout vibe from this guy. Let's read a couple of responses. I actually saw these responses first, and that's why I said, let me insert this into the show. Here goes Misty. You know, Misty is always here on one of our shows. Usually Nick most times, but sometimes I bring her on too. I was thinking about bringing her on this episode, but I just didn't because of the scheduling and how YouTube wasn't working. I didn't want to invite her and didn't work. But anyway, this is what Misty says. What an absolute fucking clown. Y'all have been pushing him left for 4 years and he's worse than he's ever been. Shut the fuck up and go away. She's my anger translator, Misty. Let's see what else somebody says. Now, this is weird because they give him almost props, but then they also say, shout out the it's kind of weird. Let's read it. It's not, let's read it. I will listen to accomplished progressives like Bernie Sanders and AOC than Twitter lefties who are uninterested in building any progressive electoral party. I read that. I was like, oh, this is a lover because that sounds like nonsense. And it is. One, these aren't accomplished people. That's two. One. Two, you're not building any power in a Democratic Party. Like, get real. You're not building any power. Ayanna Pressley told Cori Bush, we vote on our own, ma'am. But they go on and say, although the statement is true, it's unwise to ignore millions of uncommitted voters asking Biden to be better on, and then they bring up the numbers. So it's kind of confusing because they're bringing up something against Biden, but then they're saying, I'll listen to Bernie. So it's weird. But look at that uncommitted votes there. Look at that shit. People don't talk about, North Carolina that often. They've had 88,000. I think did Massachusetts have a good amount? Was it Massachusetts that I'm thinking of? Oh yeah, right here. 50, 60,000. So these are, I don't look at percentages. I look at that sheer number. Because they tried to pull that trick when it's first uncommitted before it happened. Oh, they had uncommitted before. Don't worry about it. When Obama, they had 11%. And they were saying it's only 13%. But then you look at the sheer numbers. The 11% when Obama did it equaled 20,000. The number. But 13% here equals 101,000. You see why you got to go with the raw number and not the percentage? It can be misleading, or at least propagandists uses percentages to be misleading on purpose. That is a propagandic tactics to use percentages. That's why they use it for crime rate. Crime rate is up 15%. But what is that in sheer numbers? 5. What? You see what I mean? It makes it sound worse when it's a percentage. But anyway, that was a short tangent. And then the Hampton Institute says this: Bernie played both ends by attempting to represent the working class while also siding with Democrats, and ended up playing himself in the process, proving again that it is impossible for bourgeoisie politicians to both represent the people and maintain a political. It's not possible. But that's what they want you. Oh yeah, I'm a politician playing I'm a clog in the war machine. I'm a clog in the U.S. empire, but I'm also fighting for the people. It's not. That's just made up. That's not a thing, I should say. I said it's not, but it's not a thing. Yeah, I think I want to go here now. Let's go to this here. And I think let's start here. Next topic. Cornball West announces his VP pick. So let's talk about this. Cornel West went on Tavis Smiley's radio show to make the announcement. It was really very non-ceremonial. I was going to play that video, but I think I found some other receipts to play. It's very non-ceremonial, where it's not even a big dun 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 dun. It just, yeah, this is a blah blah blah. It's very unceremonial. I didn't know who the person is, not until people started reacting. And the reaction that got me the most was by a person known as Dr. CBS. And if you're on Twitter, you know who Dr. CBS is. Let me see. I do have a tweet for her, and it is a she. And if you want to look her up on Twitter, it is Black Left as Fuck. So Black Left AF. Black Left AF. Hang on one second. Here. Wife is coming back in town. I need to make sure this is the flight information. She's in between flights, so I need to check this 1 second. She's messaging. 1 second. But okay. All right, that was her. All right, so I got the additional flight. So that's going to beep a couple of more times. But anyway, Dr. CBS, who is a writer, because I know she's an author, I should say, just recently dropped a new book. And her name is, the Twitter, the social media handle is Dr. CBS. But if you wanted to actually look up her actual username is Black Left AF. Black Left AF. If you wanted to look her up, her response wasn't good. And I was surprised because being that I didn't know who this person is, and you see her on the screen next to, I'm going to give you her name in just a second. I was surprised of what she said. And I'm going to read it before I'm going to bring this up later, but I'll read it now. Dr. CBS said, Cornel West, extra unserious with that latest move. I'm like, what? So I'm trying to figure out, wait a minute, is there something about this RFV, this VP pick that is not good? So I'm Googling, I'm searching. I'm not really I'm finding a bunch of just recent stuff. I'm not really finding nothing. And then I don't know what. Oh, I get on page like of searches, which I never do. I'm like way down at page 10, trying to go back in date, going further and freaking back in date. I had to go further back in date. And then I start finding the stuff, court cases, right? So that's what Dr. CBS was referring to, because she did a subsequent quote tweet with a link to an article. And then that's when I pulled on that thread. So here is Dr. West's VP pick, and let me give you her name. She is a doctor. I want to pronounce her first name the correct way. Here is his announcement of her on Twitter. Cornel West for president 2024 is honored to welcome Dr. Melina Abdullah, professor, organizer, activist, a beacon of wisdom and justice, as our vice presidential candidate. Together, we're crafting a future where justice and love lead the way. Join us in the historic movement. 2 doctors leading the working class. 2 doctors who were recently okay with the Democratic Party, too. I might add that part. So that's her name, Dr. Melina Abdullah. And let's look at a couple of other receipts here I have for this. And it's just another, oops. It's just a, shoot. Why does it keep doing this here? I understand why it does that now on Twitter. Anyway, let's maximize this. And it's not any words, it's just showing the little graphic. Cornel West announces Dr. Melina Abdullah as his vice presidential running mate. Just wanted to show that. Also, a moving graphic. All right, and then we showed you that one. Now let's get to the next part. Like I said, this is the announcement. It's so
as part of Earth Day.
Like so unceremonious, like it's not any big deal about it. Where did he go? Anyway, I'm not gonna play. This is it's like an hour long. I'm not gonna play it. But let's get to this next part here. And I'm gonna read a little bit of this article, but this is the headline I found. Woman who sued Black Lives Matter leader is Cornel West's vice president. This is about the case and what Dr. CBS was referring to. Let's read, and I took the snippet out. This is from, I think it's News, is it Newsmax? I'm sorry, Newsweek. This is from Newsweek. In 2022, Dr. Melina Abdullah sued Bowers, an executive at Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, accusing him of siphoning more than $10 million from the donors to pay his consulting firm and using the nonprofit as his personal piggy bank. Black Lives Matter, GNF, was described in the lawsuit as an extension of the grassroots organization. Bauer denied the claim as harmful, divisive, and false. The suit was dismissed in June 2023, so just last year, and Dr. Melina Abdullah was ordered to pay Bauer $100,000+ in legal fees by a Los Angeles Superior Court judge last month. Now, let me stop here. Because you might say, well, if the guy was siphoning money, what's the problem with her suing? Nothing's wrong with that if you bring it to light some corruption. The case was dismissed. Now, we can assume, based on at least the legal part of it, it got dismissed because it didn't have enough merit to move forward. If it's just dismissed. You know what makes this egregious, that makes it seem like there was malice behind her doing this? Is this next part, where she's forced to pay the people she sues money. That is an indication that this was an egregious, or the court felt that this was an egregious use of the court system that she did, that it warranted her paying for the legal fees that caused him to go through all of this. Because it could have just been dismissed as not enough evidence. That doesn't mean she has to pay the legal fees. So let's read on. Abdullah addressed the lawsuit during her VP announcement on Wednesday, which was today, after Smiley asked if her affiliation with the BML movement carried baggage to the West campaign. Meaning, this is how they talk around it. This is how the bourgeoisie, because it's civil, remember? In civil, polite society, we can't say the shit that's actually happened. Is your bullshit lawsuit gonna fuck up Cornel West's campaign? It can't fuck up Cornel West's campaign. Let me just say that. It can't fuck up bullshit. Quote, there's one lawsuit, or was one lawsuit, meaning it's past tense because it just got ruled on as far as paying the people she sued. Black Lives Matter grassroots, which is the boots on the ground. This is her saying, the people in the community, they like me, maybe. My side of things, we have our resources and platforms stolen by this other entity, which is comprised of highly paid consultants, not organizers. She said, quote, we sued for our resources back. Unfortunately, the lawsuit was blocked by something called an anti-SLAPP motion, SLAPP as in strategic lawsuit against public participation, as lawsuits that intend to silence critics by hitting them with a costly legal defense. Didn't I tell you something egregious, something malice? Why would Cornel West put somebody, she could be great in every other area. Why would you put somebody who recently had this adjudicated? What is he doing but intentionally making bad decisions to ensure he gets the fewest votes? This is terrible. And she could be, and like I said, I saw a lot of good stuff that she's doing. I'm not critiquing that. What I'm saying is, why is Cornel West adding somebody to his campaign that has this recently resolved issue like last month, according to Newsweek? Why would you do that? Unless you are not running a serious campaign. Unless you're running a campaign trying to prove people you are serious. You ever had somebody lie to you and you know they're lying, and then they get offended that you call them out on their lie when they know you're lying, when you know they're lying? That's what Cornel West is doing. He got called out. Now I got to prove I'm really running. This doesn't prove it, sir. This makes you look more like a cornball, not for her body of work, but for the singular lawsuit issue. Doesn't it, like I said when Ajamu Baraka was here, a person with this many degrees is not making these many bad decisions unintentionally. And then this is her right here, her account, if you wanted to check it out. A closer look at her, or another look at her. That's her there. It's a more cartoon version of her, it looks like. And then she has, the rest of the same sort of stuff here. So that is what I know so far about this VP pick, and this is not going anywhere. It's Cornel West. Come on. It's Cornel West. Nothing's gonna happen to this. This is nothing. Let's go to this here. Flower Massacre. So what is surprising, this is the second clip I said earlier, the based focus group panel that was on CNN, that was a surprising segment. This is another surprising segment. CNN did its own investigation and found that Israel was lying about the Flower Massacre. What? Really? Really? Like listening to their implausible story, on its face, you couldn't see it was a lie. But this is a surprising segment where they're calling Israel out, and let's listen to this. Actually, let me make sure I have the right thing up here. Let's watch this, and then we're almost done. Hang on here. Oh, was this an added segment? Oh, this was oh no, it's not. It's right here. CNN debunks the lies told by Israel over the Flower Massacre. And like I said, this is a pretty shocking segment to be on CNN. But again, this is a testament to the protest, to the persistent, continuous protests that have pressured public sentiment to now the majority thinks that this is too much. This should be in. There should be a ceasefire. We do not support this, which now the corporate media has to play to that segment. So now you're seeing these really based segments. Here's another one.
It's early morning on February 29th on Al Rashid Road in northern Gaza. Thousands of starving people have gathered here to receive food. But as the aid trucks arrive, this happens. The night would become known as the Flower Massacre. By morning, over 100 would be dead in one of the single biggest mass casualty events of this conflict. CNN investigated this incident, obtaining never-seen-before videos of that night, collecting evidence from 22 eyewitnesses and tracing the aid itself all the way to a Muslim charity in the UK. It was the IDF that was then responsible for safely delivering these vital supplies. But we found they opened fire on unarmed, starving Palestinians at close range as the aid arrived. Their explanation for the tragedy using this drone video was a stampede that caused soldiers to fire warning shots in the air. They later admitted to firing some shots directly at so-called suspects who approached them. But the IDF footage is incomplete. It cuts between crowds surrounding the trucks and bodies lying on the ground. Even this reveals they were firing in a densely packed area, likely to cause severe bloodshed. CNN requested the full footage from the IDF, but it was denied.
Of course.
Jihad Abu Watfa was amongst the starving Palestinians.
They're liars.
And started filming as the trucks crossed into northern Gaza.
قررنا أن نواجه خطأ أو المغامرة بحياتنا من أجل الحصول على أي لقمة عيش لعائلاتنا.
Videos from Jihad and another key eyewitness, Bilal, indicate the gunfire started earlier than the IDF claimed. The IDF published this timeline saying the trucks arrived at the checkpoint at 4 a.m. They then crossed at 4:29, and only after that did the IDF fire shots at the crowd. But in Bilal's video, filmed 7 minutes earlier at 4:22 a.m., gunshots ring out. He warns there is a tank. The IDF claim the convoy was still stationary at the checkpoint at this time. Next, Jihad begins filming. It's now 4:28 a.m. and there's a barrage of gunfire, and the shots are close. Analysis by weapons experts of the bursts indicate it is heavy automatic gunfire at 600 rounds per minute. Jihad keeps filming. A tank is beside me. We're now under siege, he says. Moments later, you see a truck driving along the road. We spotted traces from the gunfire here. One can be seen ricocheting up here, according to weapons experts.
كان شعور جدا لا يوصف من خوف وارتباك وخايف لا سمح الله ترجع نادلك شهيد.
As day broke, the number of dead and injured that emerged was staggering. Interviews with survivors at hospitals afterwards found some people had been shot in the upper body. Amid the devastation, CNN found a clue as to who had delivered this aid. This box with the writing Ummah Welfare Trust.
This was the first time that the aid had reached northern Gaza, and we were very, very excited and happy that finally we had gone through.
They received the terrible news as to what had happened via WhatsApp.
I woke up to some photos with cardboard boxes of our logo, Ummah Welfare Trust, with bloodstains on them. And it came as a shock. This is the first time in 20 years where I've actually seen blood being mixed with aid.
In all, at least 118 died that day. With the UN struggling to access northern Gaza, the IDF are responsible for ensuring aid arrives safely. Despite this, the UN has documented 24 attacks on Palestinians awaiting aid in the last 3 months alone. For those like Jihad living on the verge of famine, it has led to a desperate fight for survival. And now that fight becomes more challenging than ever.
Well, Erin, the IDF have not yet responded to CNN's questions on these findings. We've also asked for that full unedited drone footage, but those requests have been denied. And really, this investigation is calling into question the IDF's ability to safely distribute aid when it's clearly most desperately needed. Erin.
All right, Katie, thank you very much.
That is pretty base for them to do their investigation. They have footage where 7 minutes, or I forget the amount of minutes, but they have plenty of cell phone footage from people on the ground, eyewitnesses. I think they said something like 22 they spoke to. And they can have this physical proof. What do you mean? This started here. Here's video footage where, and the guy that you saw talking in other language, he was the guy who had the video footage saying, what do you mean? This was shot before that. When they said it started, this is before. Listen to how they're already shooting. What are you talking about? Bring up the accompanying article with this. This is from The Cradle. CNN report exposes Israeli lies surrounding flower massacre. The investigation showed Israeli forces opened fire on starving Palestinian waiting to receive bags of flour from a convoy of aid trucks on the 29th of February. And it says a new CNN investigation into the 29th February flower massacre has affirmed Palestinian eyewitnesses' accounts that Israeli forces opened fire on crowds of Palestinians seeking to obtain sacks of flour from aid trucks. The massacre, which took place at the Al-Nabulshi roundabout on the coastal Al-Rashid Street in Gaza City, left 118 dead and 760 injured. The Israeli military claimed its forces only opened fire in self-defense against Palestinians approaching its tanks at a checkpoint, and that most of the victims were killed in a stampede or run over by the aid trucks surrounded by desperate crowds. That was the lie they told. But according to the CNN investigation, Israeli forces opened fire on the crowd, causing the stampede, which everybody knew that's what happened. The stampede out of nowhere, shots fired, causes the stampede. Quote, the evidence reviewed by forensic and ballistic experts indicated that automatic gunfiring began before the IDF said the convoy had started crossing through the checkpoint. And that shots were fired within close range of the crowd that had gathered for food. A witness at the scene said the chaos and confusion that led to people being hit by the truck only started once Israeli soldiers began shooting, which was, of course, the deal. Hang on one second. Oh, spam. I'm glad I have a little spam little thing. All right, read that part. And then CNN doing their job, investigative journalism on Gaza flower massacre. That's just somebody in the tweet shouting it out. Oh, what is this thing that just popped up here? Okay, I'll go down a little bit so that doesn't pop up. All right, let's continue. Another survivor, Zamil, I'll just use their last name, told CNN that he was shot at after receiving a bag of flour from one of the trucks starting. Quote, as soon as I carried the bag of flour and started to walk, they shot at me. Why would they do that unless the order is to make sure these people starve? You can bring the trucks in. Yeah, they're in. That doesn't mean they're going to get the food into their body. The Israeli military, I'm down here now. The Israeli, actually, I'll read all of this. The CNN report added that the Israeli military released drone footage of the incident, claiming to show that the stampede began before any Israeli forces opened fire, but the quality and editing of the video make it difficult to confirm their claims. The Israeli military rejected CNN's request for the complete unedited drone footage of the incident. Of course they rejected that, because then it would show that they're liars and murderers and genociders. So of course they rejected that. But let's call that segment over and move on. I think there's two more I want to do. Let me see where I'm at on my agenda here. There's two more I want to do. Hang on a second here. I'm changing. I'm in the middle of changing what I want to do here. Actually, I don't know if I can. I cannot. All right, I cannot. All right, so what I'm gonna do is now go to, is it YouTube TV? Yeah, YouTube TV. Let's go to YouTube TV. Inside Politics on CNN with Dana Bash talks about inflation. So some numbers came out today, and I'll switch to this. Some numbers came out today showing that inflation is continuing to go up. And it's so weird how they cover this story, and then they also have stories where they pretend like they don't know why people aren't responding the way they should about the economy. It's so weird. They'll do these segments where they have the poll numbers, they have the hard evidence to say, oh, this is why people aren't happy about this economy. And then other segments, they say, oh, hey, I want to give them credit. But that's what they do. And Dana Bash, we're going to use Dana Bash to give us the bottom line numbers, like the actual
battle within the party over whether the relatively new speaker should keep his job.
And then we'll get to some reaction, like Jim Clyburn, and I think I start at 11:52 is where it's at, right about here. All right, so let's talk now inflation, because inflation is rising as Biden says the economy is great. And now they're getting people telling them, hey, do a different strategy. This is not landing that you think the economy is going well, but they can't not talk about the stock market. They can't not talk about GDP. They can't, all these sort of owner class, capitalist class sort of things that means the economy is good for them, but it doesn't translate to workers. It's hard for them. But anyway, let's listen. Oops. Let's rewind 15 seconds. So they're going to end on the previous part and begin in like 14 seconds here.
So many congressional Republicans saying, oh, no, we're not going to be talking about IVF or birth control. We're seeing that happen, and it could absolutely happen in Arizona.
Okay, everybody stand by. Democrats are hoping that this issue of abortion rights are top of mind for voters in November. Polls also show inflation and the broader economy are even more important at this point. The president didn't get some great news on that front this morning. Inflation rose 3.5%, the highest since September. Americans are paying more for gas, for food, and housing. CNN's Rahel Solomon is
Gas, food, and
with me
housing.
now. Rahel, what
That
else does
sounds
this
like
report?
the major things. So if gas, food, and housing goes up, but everything else goes down, is the economy doing good? Everything for me to sustain life is higher. But some people on Wall Street got some money, and I'm supposed to be happy about the economy.
Show.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dana, you laid it out pretty well there, but it's really gas and housing that were the largest contributors here to the price hike that we
Gas and
saw. So
housing. You
this
mean
was
the
higher
largest
than
things
we
that
were
people
expecting.
need.
It was higher than the month
It's so
prior. And as you pointed out, it's the sort of fastest pace we've seen since 6 months or so. So 3.5%. To put that in perspective, Dana, the expectation was 3.4%. Even on a monthly basis, prices came in hotter than expected. So CPI, or the Consumer Price Index report, this is just one inflation report that the Fed uses to help guide its decisions, but it's an important one. There are 3 inflation reports, but it is an important one. So what happens here really matters. I want to go through some components for you where we saw prices increase. As we said, gas was a pretty big contributor, 1.7%.
Look at these numbers here. Gas is up 1.7. Shelter, that's housing. And it's weird how she describes it. She's like, they say shelter, and then she has to describe it like, yeah, I guess that's like mortgage or rent. Like she said something to that effect. You'll hear. Up 0.4%. Food is up 0.1%. But then they want us to respond to a poll that the economy is doing well. The 3 biggest, I would say, the 3 biggest things, or 3 of the biggest things, I should say, that all of us have to pay, that takes a good chunk of our money, are these 3 things. Roof over your head and food is basic stuff to live as a person, as a human, I should say. But let's listen what they said.
That's a pretty big deal. Food prices only modestly, but still increasing a bit. And shelter prices. So shelter has been especially sticky. And we had been actually hoping, and when you think shelter, you think rent, inflation, rent prices, you think sort of the price to put a roof over your head, if you want to put it that way. We had actually been hoping to get some progress on shelter inflation, but that has not happened. And so that's part of what we've seen. And if you're looking at the markets today.
And I can attest to that. And RBN could attest to that. We can bear witness to shelter going up. I just thought of that. We are having a fundraiser right now because JB and I need to move. JB's moving. His rent just went up. We did a fundraiser maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because his rent had went up. The same people now selling the place and he has to get out. So he's having to move. The reason he didn't leave before, because all the other places to move to was more than he was already paying, which had went up. So that's an uptick for him. Me having to move, I'm looking at places right now, we're paying $500 more minimum to move. Minimum. Per month extra. And I'm supposed to answer a survey that the economy's going well. Is that even serious?
You'll probably notice that it's a pretty rough day. And the reason why is not just because of what this report tells us about the path of inflation as it has been, but also the path of rate cuts in the future. And so the expectation had been, Dana, as you know, that we would start to see rate cuts from the Fed perhaps as early as June. The door has practically been shut on that after this report, because essentially what you have, this is now the 3rd CPI report after January, after February. Now you have March coming in hotter, which suggests that inflation is sort of stuck, right? And so it's really remarkable because we've gone from rate cuts are absolutely coming in 2024. That was the consensus not a
Now
long
it's
time
like,
ago.
no, it's not
and then
coming.
it became last week, we heard one Fed official say, well, maybe we don't need rate cuts at all in 2024. And that set off some alarm bells. And now you're hearing after this report, one prominent economist pointed out, maybe the next move from the Fed is actually a rate hike.
Oh my
so
goodness.
it is really remarkable what has happened. But essentially, you have an economy that's still strong in terms of the labor market, in terms of consumer spending, but you have prices and inflation.
The labor market is adding jobs because people got to get second and third jobs to afford the shit you just said is going up. Do you know my grocery bill has doubled? Family of 4, 2 kids, 2 adults, used to be $300 a month. I mean, a week we were spending. It's $600 a week. Not quite, five something a week for the same food. For the same food. Crazy, but I'm supposed to answer a survey to give Joe Biden a pat on the back. Yeah, that's happening. Let's go to Twitter for the rest of this here. We're going to get Jim Clyburn's reaction to this. Because y'all need to stop gaslighting people. That's essentially has been the message. Stop acting like the inflation is like this economy is going well. Here's the inflation numbers, bub. So what do you say about this? Which one I'm going to start with? This is. Why is that here? I'm trying to think. What was the? Oh, yeah. No. That's right. Okay, so I got to play this one first. Okay, so this is the one I got to play first. I was trying to remember the order. So before I play Jim Clyburn, because he's reacting to this other focus group. So there's another focus group, or there's a focus group now on MSNBC. And this focus group is of undecided voters. And the question or the part that I want to discuss, they talk about other stuff, is the part when they get to the economy. I think this is it. Let me make sure. I think this is the right one. Hang on a second here. When they get to the economy. No, let me give you a preview. All right, so let me give you a preview.
We're also asked
let me start,
how they think.
Let me give you a snippet, and then we'll play the longer version. That's what I want to do. So let's play this.
In key swing states, it's a set of.
My bad, everybody. What I'm clicking in Twitter is bringing up something else because it has this funny function now where it thinks it's helping and it's not. All right, this is the one I want to play first. It's only 24 seconds. This is a preview of what you're going to hear.
The undecided voters were also asked how they think President Biden is doing on the economy. Take a listen.
I think he's been absolutely disastrous for the economy.
I agree.
Raise your hand if you think President Trump's policies on the economy would be better for your family personally. Raise your hand. All right, so that is everybody.
The undecided voters were also asked how they think President Biden is doing on the economy. Take a listen.
I gotta hear this again.
I think he's been absolutely disastrous for the economy.
He's been absolutely disastrous for economy. I think he's been absolutely disastrous. So that's from Morning Joe, and same Morning Joe show, they bring on Jim Clyburn,
Congressman,
to react to this, to them and what they're saying. So let's listen to Jim Clyburn speak.
Let's talk about some of the real warning signs that I heard for the Biden campaign, Congressman, and that was that these undecided voters polled, and then in this focus group, showing that they are really suffering when it comes to interest rates, trying to buy a home, looking at their own personal economies, and they're feeling like they're being gaslit. They're feeling Joe Biden isn't accountable. What's your response to that? And how can the campaign address these feelings?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I think that we have to focus on people's everyday lives. And 401ks are not about people's everyday lives. And I do believe, just from my own observations, from the conversations I've had with people, there are concerns about things like inflation. But what we've got to get them to see is that inflation today is about 40% of what it was when Joe Biden took office. And so the inflation rates are down and people's incomes are up. Unemployment is on the decrease. And although we see the prices at the stores costing more money, people are in fact earning greater incomes. So what we've got.
So what does that mean, Jim Clyburn? If prices have gone up if prices have gone up and incomes have gone up, what does that mean, Jim Clyburn? What's the use in me getting more money if the cost of housing and food costs more money? He's as dumb as he looks, and he looks quite dumb.
Office. And so the inflation rates are down and people's incomes are up. Unemployment is on the decrease. And although we see the prices at the stores costing more money, people are in fact earning greater incomes. So what we've got to do is make sure that people see the policies of the Biden administration, how they affect their everyday lives, and get them to see in his policies that which is real, not what they may hear on social media. One of the focus group people talked about social media and the misrepresentation, disinformation, all of those things are out there.
What I'm not being misrepresented by my rent being up high. I'm not mistaken on that, sir. I'm not mistaken on food prices being high. There's no misinformation about egg prices.
And that's the battle that we have to fight, and we've got to do a better job of fighting it more effectively.
So I'll validate that. I think the disinformation out there is distorting the entire process. I think social media doesn't help, but there's also a lack of validation that these voters feel. And I'm going to bring in Andrew Ross Sorkin right now because we just got breaking news. The consumer price index increased at a faster than expected pace last month, a signal that inflation remains stubbornly high. Let's bring in Andrew, co-anchor of CNBC Squawk Box.
We don't need to hear this moron right here. We can stop there. I have a different video here. They talk a little more. I want to get a little more of them talking about inflation.
Undecided voters in key swing states. It's a set of polls and focus groups conducted simultaneously, which I don't think has been done before, by WIC Insights and the interactive video platform Two Way. So we hear from voters in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Undecided voters, okay? And they are states, of course, that Donald Trump narrowly swept in 2016 and then Joe Biden in 2020. So let's start. Here are their answers when they're asked about how President Biden is doing on the economy. Take a listen.
I think he's been absolutely disastrous for the economy.
The long version now.
I agree.
Raise your hand if you think President Trump's policies on the economy would be better for your family personally. Raise your hand. All right, so that is everybody. President Biden argues that his economic record has been very good. He said President Trump's was not as good. What are you keying off of, Sean? Since you had the best smile, and Virginia the second best smile. What are you keying off of to say President Trump's economic policies would be better for you?
My past performance of my 401k. I know it was post 2020 and everything.
That tells you these aren't real non-union working class people. They don't have 401ks. That's not how they're judging. And these interest rates. They have a lot of these people. Interest rates, poor people are not talking about interest rates. They're not buying anything. So even on these panels, they don't really have the capacity to even get voters like a Rome, like a Nick. That's not the level they're willing to go down. They'll go down to like professional nurse. They'll go down like a flight attendant, like union people who are working class.
Kind of flipped around, but you can't blame everything on 2020 for forever.
We have areas here in Pennsylvania where it's just at a standstill right now. Like things are supposed to be being built and the interest rates are just way too high for people to invest and start moving around.
And Virginia, just staying with you because Pennsylvania is near and dear to Joe Biden's heart. Are there Biden policies that you would blame for the problem? And if so, what are they?
The interest rate is so high right now. And I know they're trying to.
Like, this is another one. Like, these are. What's the right way to say this? Anyway, they don't need to
cut the inflation down. But like, if nobody is building, no businesses are really coming to Pennsylvania right now to keep us moving forward.
Even if you're trying to buy a house, because I'm trying to become a first-time home buyer, the prices are so high right now. It's just hard.
Have we ever thought, are the prices high or we just pay too little? Would the prices be too high if we all made $50 an hour starting? Would the prices be too high if we earned, if it was a worker co-op, or if the workers own the means of production? Anyway, I digress. Let's continue.
Is there anything Joe Biden could do or say between now and the time you vote that would make you feel differently about feeling that his policies would not be as good for your family on the economy? Or are you pretty much decided that Trump's policies would be better for the economy?
I mean, I feel like he doesn't even take accountability for what's going on in the economy. Not even accountability, like he's in denial that it's happening.
The point is Biden needs to hear the people, because when he's talking about the economy doing stellar, he's talking about the stock market. He's not looking at homelessness or joblessness. He's not, at Hagee's point, thinking about how much it costs to go to the grocery store. And he's gaslighting literally everyone in the process.
Okay. And
the Biden administration hear that and say, double down on Bidenomics. Because owners are seeing money, their bank accounts grow. So to them, it is hard. It's a different reality. To you, the economy is going good. So it's hard to trick your mind to be in a conversation, to speak in a way that the economy is doing bad, when to you, your pockets is fat. You get what I'm saying? It's something you can't trick the mind into doing. Once you get into the conversation, you're going to keep reverting back to what you really believe in your language. I don't have that clip that illustrated that. There was so many clips I had to clip one, because that was really probably the only good part of that clip that I'm not showing. That's why I can't show too many. But let's see here. I do have another segment, one small segment, and it's just showing something from Nancy Pelosi putting her foot in her mouth again. Nancy being Nancy. That's just Nance. Let's see here. Focus group, Clyburn. Yes, I think that's all the receipts for this. So all I have is the Nancy Pelosi segment to do. Let me see where I'm at. I'm here, so I guess I can go here, and then I can go. Where is Nancy? Looks like I just passed it. Oh, here it goes. So there's reporting on Nancy Pelosi being or I'll just read the caption. Nancy Pelosi discusses signing the recent letter to not send aid pending investigation into aid workers' death and options for President Biden. So she signed that letter. Oh, I'm not gonna do that. We're standing firm. That pretend bullshit. When I heard Nancy Pelosi signed that letter, I was like, oh, this is bullshit then. This is not at all anything that's real. This is some bullshit. cover story. Do I have it here? Do I have it? Nancy Cornball, inflation, CNN, Rokana. Nancy Pelosi. How about I just say sucks? I mean, that's always fitting to use this phrasing with her. So just Nancy Pelosi sucks ass. All right. So she signed this letter that supposedly is taking a stand for something, right? Stand for something for Palestine. Don't give them an aid until this. You mean that fake sham investigation that Israel put out in like 24 hours? You talking about that? That cleared your threshold? Well, apparently so, because in the video where she's on to discuss how she's putting up a fight to hold back aid, she says, we're not going to hold back aid. That's what Nancy Pelosi says here. Let me see what's the direct. Nancy Pelosi admits she doesn't want to condition aid to Israel. That was supposed to be the banner. Why is it not here? So we're going to put this up and start the right way. And let's make sure, let's do it again. So Nancy Pelosi admits she doesn't want to condition aid to Israel as she's being interviewed on MSNBC about signing a letter to condition aid to Israel. You like that one? You like that one? So let's listen to Nancy Pelosi.
A phone call with Prime Minister Netanyahu last week expressed real unhappiness with how the war is being conducted in Gaza. I know a number of Democrats have done the same, particularly after that strike that killed those humanitarian workers. The Prime Minister yesterday said, look, I'm setting a date for a Rafah invasion. That's still going to go ahead. He didn't say when that would be. You are among those who have said aid to Israel, military aid to Israel should be conditioned. Explain to us what you mean, what conditions and why.
Well, let me be very specific. The letter was about the attack on the
aid workers.
The work.
So you get what she's saying? She'll withhold aid money for the Westerners that were killed in the what is it? Something kitchen. But the World Food Kitchen, I forget the name. But anyway, for those Westerners, she'll withhold the money. That's what she's making. Hold on. What do you mean withhold aid here? Bozo. That letter was just about holding with aid until an investigation was done, and that's already been done. Don't confuse it with withholding funds. So she wanted to make that crystal clear. She's not about withholding no funds to nobody, sir. Let's listen.
You are among those who have said aid to Israel, military aid to Israel should be conditioned. Explain to us what you mean, what conditions and why.
Well, let me be very specific. The letter was about the attack on the
Westerners.
The workers. It said until there is an investigation. And they said they were doing an investigation. Now, I think the investigation should be an independent one. And I said that
which they haven't done.
And Secretary Blinken said that. Jose Andres said that. It should be an independent one. But nonetheless, that letter said there should be an investigation. It didn't enlarge the issue to everything else. Now, you have to know that we have the Leahy language in the law, which says if we give you assistance, as we do give to Israel, you cannot interfere with our giving humanitarian assistance.
But they have been doing that. They have been doing that. There's literally hundreds of trucks sitting without a driver, just sitting with the supplies outside of the border. Hundreds.
Assistance. So there's some
she's so bad at this. She is the highest ranking person in leadership that's bad at lying. That's bad at propaganda. That's bad at interview. She is the highest ranking person that's bad. She doesn't give. She's very bad at selling something. She just kind of goes with her hand. That's it. And we're supposed to go, oh, okay. You did your hand like this. So that means this. Okay.
Conversation that will be had about this in the Senate and in the House. It's really such a tragedy. Look, October 7th was barbaric. It was horrible what they did to the Israeli people and the rest. Hamas is a terrorist organization. We need to free the hostages, all of the hostages. But nearly 33,000 people dying, people starving, hydration, famine, and the rest. There has to be a better way.
Mika?
And so
you see how the United States empire would react to the killing, the massacre of indigenous people? You just have wimpy people watching the massacre going, there's got to be a better way to this. As the massacre continues. Same with enslaving Africans. It's a better way to build this country, but not willing to put their own. Aaron Bushnell is an exception to the rule when it comes to this shit. But anyway, Pelosi, it pains me not to give money to my favorite settler colonial project. This could slow down atrocities and land theft on the brown indigenous people. Why did they have to kill Westerners and spoil the party? That's essentially what she's saying here. Thank you for that, ARJ 1997. Yeah. All right. So that does it for the segment with Nancy Pelosi. She goes into some slightly different items that not here to cover. Just wanted to cover the part of her saying she's not down with the holding back funding for Israel, conditioning. Nah, what you talking about? I am not doing that. So I just wanted to make sure I played that. Let me make sure I covered everything. And look, I think I hit all of these. Yes, I did hit all of those. So I think I'm almost done, but I mentioned earlier when we were talking about inflation, and in particular rent inflation. So I want to show you the graphic for JB and I fundraiser. It's right there. And RBN fundraiser for housing costs. Things like deposits. You wouldn't believe what the deposit is equal to rent out here, and I live in California. Just understand that. We were at $390 at the time of this post, but I believe yesterday I put a call out just like I'm doing now for donations, and we got quite a bit more. So wow, I haven't checked this in a while. So somebody really gave some money. I thought I was about to announce that we're at $510, but somebody else has given some more money. So we're currently at $940. So thank you for that. Well, let's see if we'll get some people from this stream to donate. And I'll go to the GoFundMe. $940, 19 donations so far, $940. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Anonymous. There's a lot of Anonymous here. I'm going to go to the bottom here. Thank you, Anonymous. Let's bring up all of them. Adam, I said, Anonymous, George, Jason, Anonymous, and I called out Michael and Solomon yesterday. So just shouting out those who donated, appreciate it a lot. If you're able to donate, please do so. And let's do a couple of other things to shout out. I'll leave that up there, but here's our email. Here's our website. You can go there and check out different things, a lot of everything RBN. You can get any of our social media links. They're along the right-hand side. You can get to our video clips. Our most recent video clip will be down at the bottom. Our emails are there. Our chapter information are there. Pictures of when we did outreach, homeless outreach, or cutting hair for unhoused people. You can see all of that on our website. If you want to know when we go live, this was like when we do a different time. If you're on our Substack, you would get a notification. Hey, I'm about to go live in 30 minutes. An hour is usually we give a little heads up. If you're on our Substack, you get that heads up because you never know, something happened like today. Supposed to go on at 11, but I had to go on 11 my time, so I should say 2 p.m. Eastern, but I end up going on 6 p.m. Eastern. If you're on our Substack, you get those notifications. Here's our email if you need to contact us. Zoya looks through our email, so you can title it to her, even if you're talking about us. Like, hey, Zoya, can you get this message to the members? Because we don't read it directly. She reads our emails, and then she delivers the emails or the message to us. So you can, if you email us, you can address it to Zoya, Z-O-Y-A. Patreon. That's the best way you can support us. Our editor, Aaron, who does a great work. This graphic you see on the screen of me and JB, of JB and I, she did, and she does all of the great graphics. We pay her equally out of our Substack. She gets an equal share. So we split it 6 ways, not 5 ways. I said Substack, but Patreon. We don't get any money from Substack. Our Substack is free. But if you're able to support, please do. We have plans as low as $3 a month. That's $36 a year. And is there one more thing to show? Hit that like button. Get us to 800, please. That is always our target for these live streams. We are being severely suppressed. One, all of our clips, the last, I would say 20 to 30 clips, have instantly been labeled limited. And that means it's limited shown. So we're on the attack because it's getting closer and closer to the election. Due Dissidents, Keaton and Due Dissidents talked about this, how there's going to be ramping up censorship on YouTube in particular. And we're already seeing it here with RBN. So support us if you can. Double check to make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube. They have been unfollowing people. Follow us on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter. Compton Made Me. What else you can do to support? Become a Patreon. Those are all great ways to support us with the suppression that's going on. Share. That's another way to support. Hit that like button. Get us to 800. And now let me read the new super chat. I read this one about Pelosi. Now let's read this one. I put it up, but I didn't read it. This is another one from ARJ 1997. Here in Phoenix, that was actually a possible destination before we decided on this last destination of our move. We have to go to multiple stores just to save a little money on groceries. We do the same. 3 stores we have to go to. Supermarket, Target, and then it's another store my wife goes to get more healthier items or something. But anyway, so infuriating that we have so few grocery stores to choose from because of our meager mergers, monopoly, and price gouging. Effing capitalists. That's spot on, ARJ. 1997, I thank you again. Just shouting out these people who became new members for a few months. If you don't want to just say you want to just do monthly and be indefinite, you can buy and this is YouTube membership. This is not Patreon. You could buy you could buy a membership for a set amount of time, like these 2 people just did, 8 months and 9 months. All right, so that's it for the show. I got it around 2:45, 2 hours and 45 minutes. I think I'm off for the rest of the week. Got my daughter's birthday. Then my mom's birthday is next week, and we're also moving, so it's a lot going on. April is another month. April and September, October are busy birthday, family stuff. A bunch of stuff always going on. It's a bunch of birthdays around those times. Like April is every weekend. It's my sister-in-law, then it's my daughter, then it's my mom. There's somebody after that. And then it's a week break, and then it's my brother at Mother's Day. God damn it. All right. I'm gonna be getting out of here. If you're able to contribute, please do. I don't. Let me go to Twitter. See if I can close out with anything good for you guys as far as a video. Actually, yeah. I want to close out with this. This just based where is it? Video from this TikToker right here, and this is the reason why they want to ban TikTok. So let's start here with her. She's talking about how the genocide in Gaza is not just causing people to leave Biden; they're going to leave the Democratic Party. This is causing a whole generation of people to not be Democrats. So enjoy the video. Hit that like button. Tomorrow you got.
So let me just be blunt.
Abby and JB.
The headline here is that Biden is so racist against Arabs, he would rather fund a genocide than win re-election. Is that on the people to fix? Furthermore, if he is so racist against Arabs that he's willing to commit a genocide and nothing being said or done moves him in any direction, what makes you all think he's going to save you from jack shit? Because I genuinely don't get it. I genuinely don't get the cognitive dissonance you all have to still believe in any of this. Frankly, the greatest threat to Democrats, which I've been saying for almost a year now, is not that people are going to vote for Trump. It's that people are not going to vote at all because they do not fucking believe in any of it anymore. Studies have shown time and time again that public will means nothing legislatively. That the greatest indication a law is going to pass is the money that is behind it. What you say or do, is it moving the needle? And if it's not moving the needle, if electoral politics isn't doing shit, why would people continue to invest in that system? People are literally begging the carnage to stop, and this administration is literally ignoring them. I said a long time ago that if you wanted to save the party, because now it's a matter of not just saving Biden, because it's done. Now it's a matter of whether or not the Democrats exist beyond this election. If you want to save that, you connect with people. You stand by the people of the party rather than its figureheads. But thus far, none of you demonstrated any of that. And I've said this for months, which means that what Biden's doing is not just going to tank his reelection chances, it's going to sink the entire party. And people's unwillingness to critique him or to criticize him or to just repeat never Trump all the fucking time is not only not winning people over, it is showing the rot that is fundamental to Democrats. And frankly, and fundamentally, Trump is the best thing that has ever happened to the Democratic Party because it means that they don't have to try anymore and you'll still stand there looking like a rube. None of you are actually voting for the lesser of two evils. You just became the evil.